Welcome to your Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Engel Völkers, Silicon Valley, your weekly getaway to the pulsating heart of the global real estate market. Join us as we bring you exclusive interviews with top producing real estate agents from around the globe. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, this is your insider look into the pros, cons, and the captivating allure of the world's most sought after locations. Let's discover where your next dream home awaits. Buckle up for a real estate journey like no other. This is your Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Engel Völkers, Silicon Valley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engel Völkers, Silicon Valley with Alan Canis. That's me. We are going to be talking about the Real Estate Review and what's going on in real estate today. So I want to welcome a very dear friend of mine, Sandra Miller, who specializes in real estate in the west side of Los Angeles. Sandra, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
Hi, Ellen. I'm great. I'm so happy to be here and looking forward to our discussion.
Great. This will be fun and easy, and you won't even know that thousands of people will be watching this. Would you please start by telling us a little bit about your background in real estate?
So I have been in real estate since 2000, and it seems like yesterday, although it seems like a really long time as well. So I started brand new as a broker, opened my own shop. About 4 years in, I guess, I was turned on to Engel Völkers through some research I was doing, and was the first Engel Völkers shop in California, or actually west of the Mississippi,
Wow.
in 2008.
West of the Mississippi. You don't hear that very often.
That's an Anthonyism.
That is. And what actually got you into real estate?
So I've always been in sales. Like I was selling when I was 5 years old, I think. My dad used to tease me about it. But I was in corporate sales for wireless. I sold phone numbers. And I was at the top of my field, really good at what I did. I was approached numerous times to get into real estate on the side or whatever. And that's not my thing. I've never done anything well halfway. And knew if I ever left my corporate job, I would go into real estate next. And I knew that for years, actually, like maybe 6 years, 7 years of being at the top of the wireless heap, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I did. After 9/11, I had to make some changes and needed to be in the LA market more. I used to cover 7 different markets for the wireless company. And I couldn't get to all those 7 markets, even in a month after all the flight changes and everything with 9/11. Yeah. And so my company and I decided they couldn't afford me if I was only in the LA market, literally. And so we decided to part ways. They were really generous and paid me for 2 full years. They didn't know that I wanted to go into real estate, but they didn't want me to compete with them here in the local market. And so they paid me full boat for 2 years.
That's great.
So I took 2 years off of working entirely, traveled around the world basically, and mostly in the US, interviewing different real estate people and shops and seeing how they were run and trying to get my hands around the real estate business and who was successful and why they were successful. And then I opened my own shop. I got my broker's license and opened my own shop.
That's great. You talk about sales. It wasn't, this is how naive I was. I was in real estate for 3 or 4 years and doing phenomenally well. So happy about that. And then somebody said, well, it's because you're a good salesperson. And I said, I'm not in sales. And they said, yeah, you are. You're just selling bigger things. And I never thought of myself as a salesperson. So,
even CEOs are salespeople.
Yes.
We're all selling all the time. If you're in any way, shape, or form at like the mid or top tier of a field.
Exactly. And I didn't really realize that and I came from sales. My previous company I owned was
That's
sales.
Awesome.
It's just funny. With real estate and the 2 years that you took off, how did you decide Engel Völkers?
Well, I didn't at that point. I opened my own brand. Okay. So one of my pet peeves as a woman is going into another sales office where, especially the women for some reason, will all tell you how hard the business is and how much you're going to fail. And it happened in wireless too. You go into, I'll never forget, I started in wireless and gosh, I was really young. I think I was 22. And there were 6 other women in that office, and they all told me how I was going to fail. I was never going to do as much business as them. Wasn't going to happen. Just, you're going to fail. And I showed them, I had them beat within, I don't know, a year and a half, and never looked back. So, but and I saw that over and over again in my life and in my career. And I watched it in other companies that I had helped form within the wireless business. And so I swore that I wouldn't ever put myself in that situation in real estate, because real estate is even worse. Yeah. Because a lot of these women have been in it, they started when their kids were little and they were doing part-time, and, they just kind of grew into it. And so there's offices filled with people that aren't productive, that can't wait to tell the new people how bad they're going to do. And so yeah. I didn't want to put myself in that situation. I knew I didn't need to. And so I just figured it out, did my own brand, which wasn't my favorite thing. I don't like branding as much as I like helping people, right? I'm not a marketing person. I'm a really helpful advisor, if that makes sense.
It does. When I am talking with my marketing person or talking with my social media person, they'll say things, and my comeback is, I sell real estate. I don't do the other. That's not my forte where I'm specialized in. It's really assisting the clients and assisting through that process. What are some of the unique highlights and features and attractions of the west side of Los Angeles that make it an appealing destination for people that are looking to relocate?
I think the greater LA area it's one of the 3 major cities in the United States, obviously. Yes. So, we have Beverly Hills, we have the beach, we have many different professional sports teams, we have skiing 2.5 hours away. I mean, I think it's the best coast, and just love Southern California, always have.
Are you from Southern California?
No, I'm from Minnesota.
Ah, okay. How long have you been here?
A really long time. I think I've been out here 44 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
And I go back to Minnesota as little as I can, although I did go back for the Engel Völkers opening.
Okay. Do you still have family there?
I do, but they all come here.
Okay. I think I would rather come to Los Angeles than Minnesota. I mean, as nice as Minnesota might be, yeah, especially
I'm really close with my older brother, and he and his wife come out for a month every January.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they love my house because they can walk to the beach, they can walk to the canals, they can walk to all the farmers markets. It's the best.
With you just named quite a few things, but we always hear a buzz regarding the west side of Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, etc. What is the excitement about, and why are people relocating to your location? What do you think that is?
Usually they relocate here for work.
Okay.
Right? They're either coming to work in the industry, or they're coming to work for one of the big law firms in Century City, or used to be downtown, but now most of them are in Century City. Or they're coming to work for some big tech firm down here in our Silicon Beach, as opposed to your Silicon Valley. Yes. But there's a lot of major international companies that are headquartered here. And so we get a lot of influx that way. I think the excitement for people is our weather. It is, maybe not this last year, but generally it's nice about 300 days a year. We don't get a lot of rain. We don't get a lot of nasty weather. It's never hot in Santa Monica. I think we have maybe 10 to 15 hot days a year, like where it's uncomfortably like muggy or hot. Otherwise, it's just beautiful all the time. And I think the outdoor lifestyle, just that in other parts of the country, patios and courtyards and yards aren't that big a deal, but in Southern California it's a huge deal. Like if you have a condo with outdoor space, you're at the top of the heap.
I know since COVID, and I don't usually like to use this on the show because it kind of dates us, but since then people really want the outdoor space. They want to know that it's there, and especially in a condo or a townhouse, etc. Yeah,
so we weren't hugely impacted by COVID. Malibu was hugely impacted by COVID. Lots of people went out to Malibu, got more space, went up in the hills. But here, because we are a dense city, we didn't have the exceedingly high highs that some of the second home markets have. Like a lot of people went to Ojai or Ventura or, Santa Barbara, or San Diego or down south somewhere, right? So it's because we're a city.
Yes. How would you describe the current real estate market in the west side of Los Angeles, and what trends should a relocator be looking for?
So it's really all about neighborhood, and what most people don't understand is, Beverly Hills from my office is, I think, 9 miles, and sometimes it can take an hour, and sometimes it can take 3, and sometimes it can take 20 minutes. So
that's like the Bay Area.
Yeah, exactly. But see, people don't understand that. They look at a map and they think, oh, I'm going to work here, I can live here, but they can't. Not unless they really enjoy driving in bumper to bumper traffic. And so I think educating anybody coming in as to the flow of traffic and kind of what they enjoy. I mean, there's certain neighborhoods that are walking neighborhoods. There's certain neighborhoods that are views. Like we're flat, so we don't have a lot of view property, even though you could be, a block from the beach doesn't necessarily mean you can see it. Yeah. It's just comical, but yeah. So it's really the education process and the questions and the conversations you have with someone coming in. They might really want to live in Los Feliz, right? If they're going to be working downtown, or if they're going to be working in that part of Century City, and they don't necessarily love the beach, and so maybe they want to be a little bit more inland and they enjoy hiking in the mountains. And so it's really, there's such a variety of lifestyles available here that you really have to coach someone through. Someone can't just say, I want to live in LA, because there's hundreds of neighborhoods.
It's too big. Yeah, it's vast. I mean, it really is.
It's not that big mile wide. I mean, it is, but it's not. But it's there, like every neighborhood is so specific.
Yeah. My husband is from Westwood, and so when we'd go visit, it was nice walking the neighborhoods. And then walking, you could be right into the restaurants or...
But not all of Westwood can do that, because Westwood is long.
And so I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so there's certain parts of Westwood that aren't necessarily walkable.
Okay. And what I have noticed is, at least for that area, it was so, where his mother's property was, it was accessible, very accessible. There was a freeway that was nearby. You can go to downtown. I mean, I find that there's something for everybody there that is looking. So, which leads me into my next question, and you answered it a little bit, but are there any certain pitfalls that people face when relocating to the west side of Los Angeles, and how do you help them navigate these?
Well, it depends on where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. Okay. If they're coming from anywhere mid-states, it's sticker shock. Like, they cannot believe the cost. They can't believe what $5 million will buy here versus almost anywhere else, okay? Unless they're in New York. Because it is shocking. Like, our parcels are small. Like, just north of my office is a neighborhood called North of Montana. A 7,500 square foot lot, the dirt value is 3.3 to 3.8 just for the dirt.
Just the dirt.
Just the dirt. And it has a nasty old house on it that you have to tear down. And then it'll cost you $5 million to build a 4,200 square foot home on it.
It is, sticker shock is the same thing here, because you have somebody moving from Midwest or just anywhere between the coasts. And what I hear is, what I can get for where I live, 120,000, 500,000, $1 million, is a $6 to $8 million house here.
So I paid a really small amount for my house, right? I'm still in the same house I bought 24 years ago now. And my mother cried when she saw it, because we're from the Midwest. And so she thought for the amount that I was paying for this, she was going to be living in a mansion, right? I'm in a condo. And she literally cried, right? But I'm 5 houses from the beach. And she didn't understand the value at that point yet of having just this vast outdoor playground at her doorstep.
There's a give and take.
Yep.
And what I find is, when you're on either coast, And so it just depends on what you're willing to give up and what you're willing to gain, because there's
Yep.
huge gains. I think the gains outweigh the negatives personally, but I'm from here.
I know. So yeah, and I feel like I'm a native at this point. I've been here so long. But you're California too. So yeah, you see the same, issues that people have mentally. So a lot of times if somebody really is from a very large home in the Midwest, they'll rent a year. And I'll recommend that so that they can learn the ins and outs of the different neighborhoods that maybe they don't have time to learn on the shopping sprees that they do before they need to move here.
Yeah, I have clients who ask that are relocating here primarily because of work, but they'll say, "What's the difference between Northern and Southern California?"
Yeah.
My big difference is the weather and that you can swim in the ocean. There where you
Yes.
are, you can't swim in it here without a
Not without a
wetsuit.
wetsuit.
Exactly. Would you give us a sense of lifestyle in the west side of Los Angeles? What can people expect?
So again, it's pretty neighborhood specific, but generally Southern California is very laid back. So you can go to a really fancy, Michelin starred restaurant and you'll see people in tennis shoes, which you wouldn't see in New York. People get very dressed up in New York.
Yes.
So you'll see people showing properties in flip-flops, which I would never allow my team to do, but it happens. I've seen it. And it could be a $20 million home and the agent's showing you in flip-flops. And so it's very laid back as far as dress and manners, I would say. But yet you can do the fancy, right? So if that's your group and that's your people, then there's plenty of them to go around as well.
Would you mind describing the local communities, what they're like, and what kind of amenities a newcomer could expect?
Oh, well, all the amenities because we're at the beach. So north of Montana, my office area, Santa Monica, we have Montana Avenue, which is a shopping street, lots of cute restaurants, coffee shops, little boutique stores, my shop, just general good weather year round, lots of outdoor walking, lots of animals. I mean, this is a very pet friendly town. The beach is usually Santa Monica goes from Ocean Avenue to 26th Street and then a couple blocks further in the college streets, but it's never any further than 1.5 miles to the beach. Okay. And so you have that, and then you have the Lakers and the Dodgers and the Clippers and the Rams and the somebody else and soccer and all the theater in Hollywood and Beverly Hills is literally at the right time if you time it properly 25 minutes away.
One of my favorite things to do, and this was years ago, was driving through Beverly Hills during the holidays.
Yep.
Because all of the decorations, I mean, some homes just really decked out and it was just gorgeous to drive.
So north of Montana's like that for Halloween. We have a lot of Christmas decorations too, but they go all out for Halloween here. Like the whole families get dressed up. It's intense.
Through the years, Halloween is becoming more and more popular. And so I get it. I'm a Halloween person, so my house is all decked out in the front, and so people bring their kids by, and it's fun. Now it's Christmas. Now everything's decked out for Christmas. So
I have one client who had a cranky neighbor. He does a big blowout party. He had a cranky neighbor. So we bought the neighbor's house so he could not have a cranky neighbor for the Halloween festivals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can you buy my neighbor's house?
No, you'd have to buy it.
He's a little
I'm happy
cranky.
to help you do that. But seriously, I mean, so they take it very seriously here.
And as they should.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I think it's the studio thing, right? It's like because we're the studio hotbed.
Yes. We've talked a little bit about climate, but what we haven't talked about is business climate. Can you tell us a little bit how is the business and economic climate at the west side of Los Angeles?
So the wealthy have done nothing but gotten more wealthy over the last few years. Real estate prices are holding steady and getting increases every year as they always have in the west side. So Santa Monica in particular is pretty immune to any economic fluctuations. Like during the downturn, we didn't have one. We had a stalled market, which is what we have right now. So when there's any economic uncertainty, what happens here is people just don't do anything. So production goes way down. The same thing happened in 2008. prices did not drop. I think we had maybe 5 or 6 foreclosures overall in all of Santa Monica, a couple of short sales, as opposed to the Valley that had 50% short sales, right? So it's because there's so much wealth here, and family generational wealth, that they've inherited the houses, or the family's got, goo gobs of money, that there's not that economic impact here.
I find that California, a lot of the major hubs in California are the same way.
Yeah.
And you hear from certain people and they say, we're going to crash the market, the sky is falling, henny penny. It's like, not here. It's
yeah, there was a blog here that some real estate firm started that I will go unnamed, and they called it Dirt. And it was, there was all sorts of crazy stuff on there that prices were going to drop 50% or more during the downturn. It never happened. Oh, my dog is coming to visit.
I'm like, wait a minute, who is that?
This is my desk diva. Say hi, Missy. Here. Anyway, somebody just walked in. She has to go say hi. She's like, it's the office greeter, right? Anyway, so yeah, it was hysterical at the time. I'm like, okay. When I first opened, I tracked the market back as far as I could possibly track it back, and have been watching the year-over-year returns here.
Yeah.
So 18 years ago when I first opened, or 16 years ago, I guess I've been in this location. First opened this office, that same lot that I said was 3.3 to 3.8 was 1.9.
Wow.
So that's what's happened to the prices just for dirt.
Just for dirt. I hear from my parents, heard from my grandparents, they never thought their values would be this much. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. And I say it's a good problem to have when you're going to sell, not necessarily when you're going to purchase.
Right. Well, I think though that if history is any teacher, which it should be, it should teach us all things, that you just need to purchase what you can afford as soon as you can afford it, and then hang on.
Yes, I agree. I call that building your personal wealth, and the younger you can start it, the better.
Yep.
So.
And a lot of what is it? The boomers, the aging boomers, are helping their families to get that start. We see that a lot on the West Side because you have to. It's
difficult for them to come up with. One of my clients is selling her. I helped her buy this condo for $2 something about 12 years ago, and now she's selling it for $588. It's a 1-bedroom, 670 square foot condo. Well, the person who's buying it is coming in with 50% down, and it took her to get for her to purchase this at 50% down. That's a lot of money, $200 and something thousand, and to save that up. And I hear friends helped, but it's still that's a lot of moolah.
It is, yeah, and here you can't even get a garage for that.
So, exactly. So,
yeah.
In what ways do you, as a real estate agent, provide value to someone relocating from another area, region, or state?
So I think I'm exceptionally well versed on all the different neighborhoods of LA. I've been working in LA for 40 years. And so even when I was in the wireless business, my job was to sign up retail stores selling wireless services. So I got to know all the different neighborhoods of LA. I don't think there's anywhere I haven't been. I tend not to spend too much time in certain neighborhoods, but I've been everywhere. And so I'm more versed than not. But what we do is we'll go through a few phases before they get here of, different neighborhoods and different styles of homes and, different price points. And then when they come, I have tours organized. So we'll spend a full day together and see 2 or 3 different neighborhoods so that they can compare. And we'll do a full tour with a book so that they can make notes. And then I'll give them, the next day off, and then we'll do another day. And then another day off, and then another day if they're here for 3 days.
Okay.
But normally if I've spent enough time with them going back and forth before they arrive, we can pretty much dial it in and find them a home on day one.
That's one of the things that I pride myself on as well, is that day one being able to find them the right house. And then they're shocked. They're like, we expect this to take months. It depends
though on how much they'll communicate with you before they get here.
Yeah. That's
A
true.
lot of people think because they can find all the listings online that they want to do their own searching and pick their own listings. And that's not often the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I agree. How do you differentiate yourself from other agents? That's one of
People
my
can't
favorite
do that
questions.
usually. I don't know. I've yet to find another agent that can do a 12 to 14 home tour, well organized in one day, and pull it off.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Without the clients being upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's just right there. If someone can do that, that you have someone who understands the market, understands the inventory, and is organized. And that's half the battle in a real estate transaction, frankly.
What is only one piece of advice that you would give someone that is thinking of relocating to the west side of Los Angeles?
Try not to come with any preconceived notions.
I love it.
Yep, open mind.
And I'm hearing that the real estate market in your area can be a little crazy.
Yeah,
And what do you think is causing it?
lack of inventory. Again, our production is down 50%, but we only have 4 months of inventory. So
That's not a lot.
yeah, it's not at all. And so we're still seeing multiple offers on really well-priced properties, which is, the other thing we're seeing is stuff that's sitting, all of a sudden, we'll have 4 offers.
Yeah.
and one of them is mine, always. Yeah, I lost a $7 million deal in multiples after it had been on the market 120 days.
It's crazy. Once somebody hears that somebody's writing, they jump off the fence. And
Yeah,
I see that happen more often than
it's
not.
a challenging market. You just have to have good advice and take good advice. And you can't come in and lowball people on the west side. They just don't respond.
And that's the best advice that you could give. Don't lowball. So,
Yeah, well, here they tend to underprice for multiples. That's pretty standard, and it's a good marketing ploy because if you miss it even by $50,000, sometimes the property will sit for 6 months.
I'm working with a client right now, and we're about $300,000 off to referral to another realtor. And so I said, this property is going to sit. It does you no good. It does the seller no good. They need to know what the market is and how it's working
Yep.
and so, because you're right, 50,000, even sometimes even $25,000 off. That little bit can just put a kink.
Yep. And as a seller, you don't want any kinks. You want
No.
to expose to the most amount of people you possibly can get it to, and to generate offers. And so I think as a buyer in our market, it's really important to have a well-respected realtor, and someone who knows the ins and outs, knows all the off markets, but also knows how to navigate on market properties. Because I don't think your best deal is necessarily going to be an off market property. It's usually a seller with aspirational pricing.
Well, and working with an experienced real estate agent such as yourself, you have the access to the off market, which a lot of people don't.
Yeah, but again, I think off market is a slippery slope a lot of times because it's aspirational pricing and they're not necessarily negotiable. And half the time you don't know if the agent you're talking to has a listing or not.
I've run into that once.
Yeah.
So, where do you think most of your buyers are coming from?
Oh gosh, I've been doing it so long now and have done so much business. It's hard to say. I mean, at any given point, I'll get a referral or 5 or an old client that calls that has a friend that's moving here or a friend that needs to move and sell or is getting divorced or has died or, it's just any given week.
Okay. And how do you see your area evolving in the next few years, and what impact might that have on new residents?
We have a lot of rental housing being built, which will bring some of the rental prices down, which will be helpful, because now you can get a nasty 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $5,500 in a 1960s ugly building, right? So, I mean, and a house is minimum, $8,000 for a kind of an older, nice but older 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot property. So again, it's that sticker shock for the neighborhood. But I think the development of all of the rental properties will put some downward pressure on the rents. And so it will become a little bit more affordable, hopefully.
Oh, good.
Because right now it's really not affordable. People who work in Santa Monica in any of the services can't afford to live here.
And that's the unfortunate part, even here in the Bay Area. They
Yeah.
have to cross the bridge and then they're paying bridge tolls. I mean, it's a problem. So,
Yeah. Yeah. They have to go to like far east in order to have affordable. Like one of my employees just bought a house an hour away.
wow.
Yeah.
And that's with no traffic.
Yes.
Or is that okay?
No, it's with no traffic.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to talk about on the podcast is food.
Oh,
So,
okay.
how is the food in your area?
It's awesome. Maybe not as good as downtown San Francisco, okay, or what I used to think of San Francisco as a very food mecca, right? But we have some amazing chefs. We have all of the farmers markets down here, and the chefs all shop at the farmers market, mostly in the Santa Monica one because it's the biggest and best.
Okay. That's the farm to table. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean it's just we have the best fresh produce of anywhere.
The farm to table experience that I've had in your area is just been fabulous. And
Yeah.
what I don't like is the wait.
Yeah, well, and it's hard. The really good restaurants, because it's LA, it's really hard to get a reservation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I don't like. So this is not on your question list, but I asked this question at the end of our podcast for everyone. Do you have one, and only one, favorite story you'd like to share? Real estate story.
One of my favorite deals I've done was helped a client buy all his neighboring properties to accumulate 5.5 acres, which is now I think 8. I think we're up to 8. One property at a time.
Okay.
And they're all contiguous. And I did it all blindly. They had no idea who the buyers were.
Wow. Okay.
So that was an 8-year project.
Wow. I can't say I've ever had one that long.
No, but it was a lot. It was a lot of property, a lot of money.
Sandra, I want to thank you and everybody that's going to be watching this and listening. Sandra Miller, west side of Los Angeles. If you're looking for a real estate agent that is top notch, Sandra Miller is your person. So Sandra, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Truly appreciate you being here.